childhood, working in what's set in Rome, where you go into some of the big cathedrals and see Michelangelo's paintings. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that is definitely incredible and close to a one-to-one representation that you could get it to, as well as computer graphics can do it.
Hi everyone, welcome to this video. It was our first collaboration to have here a awesome guest, Jono from JonoRay. Some of his details pop up. Do you want to say hi, Jono?
Hey, hello there.
And my name is Orbit AF5 or Albert. So today we'll be looking at the entire collectible stuff for Assassin's Creed.
Well, not all the collectibles, but all the ones that we have,
including the stuff in front of the tables. So with this video, it will be 2 parts. So part 1 will be looking at stuff from Assassin's Creed 2, 3, 4, and then part 2 will go from Unity all the way up to the current one, Valhalla. As well as we'll be sharing a bit about our own personal experience and what we like about Assassin's Creed. So Jono, so what was your first Assassin's Creed game?
The first Assassin's Creed game for me was actually just Assassin's Creed 2.
Oh yeah?
Because that's the one that got me hooked. Eventually I did go back to play Assassin's Creed 1, which tended out to be a lot slower than 2, so I think for me it would just start at 2.
Which one was Assassin's Creed 2 again?
Assassin's Creed 2 was just called Assassin's Creed 2, but it came in 3 parts. So eventually it was called the Ezio collection.
So the main character is Ezio, is it?
Yes, correct.
And what did you like about Assassin's Creed 2?
It's the story. It's probably one of the best told stories in the Assassin's Creed series, which I find. Because it just follows Ezio Auditore from when he was like a kid to when he ends up being the mentor of the assassins.
And some viewers might notice Ezio is not really on the collectible items. Do you want to explain why?
Yeah, that one particularly was because Assassin's Creed 2 didn't have officially had a collector's edition. Later they had other collectibles, but it wasn't as a set.
Do you have a representation here? What do you call this? The blade from Assassin's Creed 2?
The hidden blade, featured in most of the Assassin's Creed game, but in the last 2 games it wasn't in the game at all.
Funny that. I think for myself, I really enjoy Assassin's Creed 1. I just remember reading about it in a magazine, gaming magazine, and just been blown away by it. And at the time, it hadn't really reviewed that it was to be set in dual places. And by the way, there's quite a few spoilers coming up in this game. So if you haven't played any of these, or you haven't played 1 and 2, just let you know in advance, there will be spoilers. So in the game, it's reviewed that part of the game is set in the future, whereas the other half is set in the past. And with Assassin's Creed 1, it's set in, let me check my notes, it's set in the year 1191 to 1193 in the Holy Land, Jerusalem, as well as Damascus. So quite an interesting setting. So even just the setting alone really got me hooked, but then the gameplay was quite revolutionary for the time as well, where now I guess a lot of games have sort of followed that sort of gameplay as well. Would you agree, Jono?
Yeah, quite similar.
But yeah, it was just really cool just being able to go to places like Jerusalem where not many games have set in there. Is that the same for Assassin's Creed 2? What's the setting?
Assassin's Creed 2 was Italy.
Italy, yes. And I don't think there's too many games set in Italy.
But what I do like about it is they actually completely recreate certain areas.
Oh, yes. I just remember we enjoying climbing through some of the churches that you can go inside the interiors. I think that's Brotherhood, where you can, in what's set in Rome, where you can go into some of the big cathedrals and see Michelangelo's paintings. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that is definitely incredible and close to a one-to-one representation that you could get it to, as well as computer graphics can do it.
That's right. And I like how in the later games, I think it was Origin that started, where you can actually play the game more as like exploring. So instead of playing the Assassin's Creed story, you play more like tour guide and you get a little history of the area that you play in.
Yes, they actually released later in an update that you could actually tour parts of it in the game.
That's right, yeah, it was an update. But it's a free update, right?
Yes, it was.
What about you? Do you have any other memorable stuff from Assassin's Creed you want to share?
With Assassin's Creed, yeah, the storyline seems to be quite good.
They're all connected, right? They
are definitely all connected. As you can see in the middle there, there's the Apple of Eden, practically featured in almost every Assassin's Creed game.
So I forgot to mention, this collection actually belongs to Jono, so thanks for sharing that. So is it okay if I grab the apple in?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, so this has appeared in every single one, right? You want to explain to people what it actually does in the game?
Well, it's really interesting on what it does. It's either really powerful or it's just doesn't do much. But yeah, it depends on the game what it actually does. So it's a feature set in the game which is still full of mystery. So we don't really know exactly what it actually is. All we know is it's called the Apple of Eden.
And this appeared in the first one, right from the very first game too, didn't it?
Yeah, right at the very first game, it was used at the end of the game.
And what did it do in the game?
In the game, it seemed to have had a lot of power, but it also was able to connect Altair to the person who was controlling him at the time.
That's right, so that was a bit of mind control as well to other humans, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess it's okay for us to share, like we have learned where the Apple of Eden was who created it, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember the full name, but I think sometimes referred to as the First Civilization or the ones who came before.
Yeah, that was introduced in Assassin's Creed 2, so we heard a lot more of that in the storyline aspect. So we hear about like the ones who came before or the First Civilization.
That's right. And they're not human, but they look like humans.
They look like humans, but they're not. They eventually created their own way out, like their own version of an afterlife, which apparently is more digital. Animus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they created it so it's sort of like an Animus where they have all the memories and everything in there.
So I guess that's one big factors of Assassin's Creed is the memory and the history side. I guess you can see from all the statues that represent different time periods from the game. So with the Animus, it allows someone from the user to access DNA sequence, DNA, to relive the memories of these characters, right?
Or beforehand, it was the ancestors' memories.
Right.
Later on, they were able to do it with like anyone, not just the chosen person's ancestors.
Yeah, was it the third or fourth one? Or fourth one, Black Flag, right? They started doing that, allows you to access anyone to access the memories.
Yeah.
But the first two was...
The first 2 and 3, it was all the ancestors' memories.
Yes, but the first 3 almost is like a complete story with Desmond Miles.
Which is probably why I think that particular series is probably one of the best. Because you just follow one character, Desmond Miles, where he controls all of these different characters.
That's right. And with this item here, this is from Assassin's Creed 2, and this is probably another sort of famous item from the game.
Yep, featured in all of the Assassin's Creed games, except the last 2, Valhalla and Odyssey.
So technically, are they Assassin's Creed's name then?
Well, if you consider that Origins, Assassin's Creed Origins was the first were the first who actually created the Hidden Blade in the first place, Odyssey and Valhalla are essentially before that.
I see, yeah. So pre the Creed. And I guess that's one of the most recognized symbol of, as you can see on here, the assassin symbol, which is almost like a compass that forms an A. That's the insignia. And then the assassins, who are the main enemies in the game?
The Templars.
And what's their symbol then?
Yeah, it was a cross.
A red cross. But in the first game, Assassin's Creed 1, was it the Crusaders was the main bad guys?
Yeah.
And who are they in the current timeline? Like the main, I don't know what you call it, like the future timeline?
Effectively, they're still the Templars, but they like shrouded in this company now, which was Abstergo.
Yeah. That pharmacy company, right?
Yeah.
And what's with pharmacy companies being evil corporation like Western Evil, Umbrella?
Yeah, but Abstergo are effectively the Templars. But before that, we don't really see the Templar logo much at all anymore.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's like all Abstergo.
Is that the public face.
Yes.
And what about assassins? Are they still around in the future?
They are. Like Desmond Miles' father was trained as an assassin. And Desmond learned about the assassins through his father as well.
That's right.
But he did not believe all of that stuff, so when he did get captured, then he found out that was actually true.
That's right. And when he started reliving his ancestors' memory, was it Altair in the first one, and then on to the second one with Encio, and then finally on the third one with Connor. So that axe is actually from, do you want to grab that? It's from the third game, isn't it, Jono?
Yeah, this one is Connor's axe. It's the American Revolution, 1754 to 1783. So yeah, it's a really cool one. But yeah, it's mostly rubber.
Okay, so you can't help me with that.
It's a nothing thing.
Okay.
Like, hit.
I like the little feather thing hanging from it.
Yeah, that was from this tribe.
Yeah, I can't pronounce that tribe, but...
Yeah, I can't either. And Connor has had a different name, but it's really hard to pronounce, so we just call him Connor.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Connor him, so that's the main character here, and he's holding the axe in his right hand there too, with his blade on his left, which is pretty cool. As well, he's carrying his sword as well, which I guess might represent maybe the British heritage maybe. So in the game, he's half native Indian and half British, right?
Yes.
Do you remember his dad?
The dad ended up being the bad guy. I think it was Hayward.
Maybe Hayward, yeah. Kenway. Third one, that was the first one he got to play as a Templar. Before he pretty much played as any assassin.
Yeah.
And then it was actually later on in the game, his review, that he was a Templar. And he had a relationship with one of the native Indians. And then Connor was born. As well as he got his bow and arrows. I guess that was in 1 and 2 as well, bow and arrows, so that's not new. And see behind me, he has two, he has a pistol as well. So yeah, that's the first game that introduced firearm into the series. Was it? No. Did the second one have it? Firearms?
I think the second one eventually did. In I think it was either Brotherhood or Revelation.
It was Leonardo da Vinci that gave me one, right? Fired a coin or something?
So there was a rudimentary version of it in Assassin's Creed 2. In the later Assassin's Creed 2, either in Brotherhood or Revelation, I forgot exactly which one it came in.
Okay. But yeah, I really like the fabric on there, really captured the flow of it. And then of course you got the American flag, I guess, I don't know what it's called then. It's not quite the American flag, right?
Yeah,
Pre-US flags, pre-United States flags.
But he was able to talk to George Washington and...
That's right, yes. And looking at this statue as well, I see some blood dripping off. Reminds me that game also introduced hunting in the game as well. One of the first game where you sort of gather resources.
yeah.
Well, I guess more so. The second one had resource gathering as well, but this one was more so.
Like with animals attacking and everything, yes.
That's right, and that carried across the black flag as well as warrior as well.
The statue is, I thought, was a really good design at the time, because it was one of the first collectibles I actually got from Assassin's Creed. I was actually considering getting an Altair one for the first Assassin's Creed game.
Oh yeah?
Because that's completely separate.
That's the one thing of note though. I like how as the game progressed, the costumes got more and more elaborate. Like, Altair is just a plain white almost with a, I don't call it, like a band around his waist.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail to these collectibles.
Definitely so much detail, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Alright, so we move on to Black Flag then.
Black Flag, yes.
Yeah. Do you have good memories of Black Flag?
Probably less memories because it was one of the more boring games I played.
Oh really? You didn't like it?
I did not like it so much, no.
Oh wow.
The transportation via ship was an okay idea, but I think it was a bit too slow, so I didn't really get into it too much.
Fair enough. Did you enjoy Origin?
Origins, not too much either.
Okay. It was created by the same team, right?
It was, but when it came to Origins later, we could talk about that. They had like a different shift in sort of how they created the games.
Okay, we'll save it for later then.
But yeah, I didn't really like that whole shift in the gameplay.
Oh really? I actually was the opposite. I loved it. For me it was a breath of fresh air. So you really enjoyed the third one, right?
Yeah, I mean the gameplay is okay, but then the storyline was just completely all shot out everywhere, so it didn't really make too much sense.
I see. I do agree the storyline wasn't quite there. Some might even argue they could have just called a different name for the game and still done well.
Probably, but I still got it anyway because I ended up liking the whole series. And eventually the whole underlying story is still progressed, even though these other stories were not so great.
Nah, really. Yeah, but that was an interesting story, wasn't it, in the 4? But not only the Desmond storyline finished, was, I guess we can spoil, for the 3rd one, Desmond doesn't continue with his sacrifice himself, so I was unable to be in the 4th one. But I like the start of it where they mentioned the Cerberus actually captured his body and then start harvesting his blood, right?
Yeah. Which is how they were able to get anyone to see memories of whoever they want to see.
Well, technically, Kenway is still part of the same bloodline, right? As Connor. But Connor's, I guess, his great-grandfather. Then Haven Kenway is the dad. And then you got Ezio and then Altair.
Yeah, it's a progression of the story.
I guess we can talk more about it later, but Unity, the Unity main character part of the same bloodline? I can't remember now.
No, it wasn't. So Unity was the part where they started shifting off Desmond, who was the main protagonist between the whole series, the ones who control them all, to just one that seems to be just anyone could access the memories.
Well, for me, I think that was a breath of fresh air with the Black Flag, was just having the ship segment, and I spent countless hours exploring the entire map, getting all the different ships, as well as using the mobile app to do the ship mini game. Yeah.
And with the Assassin's Creed Black Flag, there was also Assassin's Creed Rogue.
Yes, which I also enjoyed. It was the first proper game where you played as a Templar.
Yeah.
Which essentially was still assassin with slightly more abilities. But yeah, back to the statue. I feel like Black Flag statue-wise, probably the biggest one of the top 3 biggest ones, next to maybe Odyssey and maybe Unity. I know.
Yeah, I think they tried to do too much with the Black Flag one because that collectible, for me, ended up being one of the more unstable ones.
In terms of like topping over?
Yeah, it topples over a lot if it's not placed straight.
Oh, really?
And if you look at the design, it's really...
It's not very dynamic to a pose.
Yeah. So Edward Kenway, he's like doing a pose like going straight off. And that tends to... The balancing is not completely centered.
Yeah, and there's that little tap and send him flying.
Yeah. But it's a good design.
It is, it's quite nice.
It's quite tall, but they could have maybe weighted the base a bit more.
Oh yeah, it does look a bit flimsy. See that, there's not much in the base. It's really hollow, like a shit base, I guess. But I do like the additional rope, looks like actual rope.
Yeah, definitely. They like the designs of a lot of these. It seems to be like all finely painted.
That's right, definitely wear high grade statues here.
Yeah.
Actually, looking at them side by side, Edward and Connor's costume looks quite similar. They both have the blue over the white. So, I wouldn't be surprised actually they are the same sort of costume, or very similar in design anyway.
It's possibly similar, or maybe there is a connection, but that's for some other fans to know.
Because even in the game, story-wise, Edward wasn't even an assassin, right? He just found someone who was assassin and managed to kill him and then take his stuff.
Yeah. And I guess this should be the end of part 1?
That's right, yeah. So if you really found this interesting and useful, feel free to give us a like on the video. As well as we have a receptive channel. So what's your channel, Jono?
So JonoRay33.
Yep. And mine is Awarsing, which I guess is videos on that channel for you guys to help subscribe, and we'll see you in part 2.